like you were in some gorgeous, warm, amazing, jungly place that I would like to join you in.
Well, you're invited. All of my sisters in love are invited anytime.
Hmm.
Yes.
You have hammocks for all of us?
I have hammocks for all of you. I have food for all of you. I have showers for all of you. I have all the amenities and all the love. Like, what else do we need?
I
Right?
agree. I'm in.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. Oh, I love your playfulness. It is one of the greatest gifts in times like these
Mm.
to receive. I mean, it's one of your greatest gifts, and it's like such a gift for me to be
Mm.
reminded of play
Oh, yeah.
and giggles.
Absolutely. Abs- oh my
I was giggling. I looked at our YouTube channel, just the banner at the top where we're laughing started making me laugh. Like,
God. Oh my gosh. Oh,
mm,
oh, I gotta breathe. Whew. Yes. All of that, right? Like all of it. It is so important and it's so, I've used this word many times, but I really mean it is vital for my life force. It is vital.
yeah, yeah, I get that. You're teaching me that it's vital for me as well. I think it's a place I could miss in my highly sensitive, like take care of all these other things to be
Yeah.
a good spot to be like, oh, I have a business coach who, sometimes I come to him in all seriousness and he just says one or two things that's like hilarious. And it really just drops the seriousness. It
Yeah.
still lets me get to the thing, but without such I don't know what to call it. It's an energy,
Well, I
a
mean, we
rigid
can call it,
energy.
yeah, we can call it a veil, we can call it a wall, whatever. But like, I think I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that, laughter is really vulnerable. Like to laugh like wholeheartedly with one's whole body is really vulnerable because like as you're sharing with me, you go into your meeting with your business coach, which you're paying money for. It's serious because you're paying him for support for building your business, right? So it is serious, and there needs to be some levity.
Yes.
Like there needs to be levity, even like with everything, like with literally everything. There needs to be, even with death, there needs to be levity.
Yes.
Um, and so I'm thinking of one of my favorite comedians who is, are you familiar with Ricky Gervais?
Is he British? Is he the
He's
British guy?
British.
Hmm.
He's British and he's so like cringe, like some of the things I'm like, oh my God, I can't
He
believe
did the Oscars or the Emmys or
the
something, and
Golden Globes.
yeah,
The
I
Golden Globes.
enjoyed his Fight Club
Yeah,
kind of energy.
yeah. And oh my gosh, like his writing is brilliant. And what he says is, you know, comedy is a like when, because he has gotten so much negative feedback about, you know, the comedy that he does, and he's like, look, my intention is never nasty. It's never to be mean.
Mhm.
It really is coming from my heart, like it's good, clean humor, and you receive it the way that you receive it. But my intention, as far as expressing and putting it out there, really is with good intention and to be funny. But
Yeah.
if you don't find the humor in it, that's not about me, that's about you. And I was like, damn, that's really true, right? Like,
I think
And
so. It's our projections, it's our triggers
it
coming up, you
it
know?
is.
Oh, I love that he said that. It
Yeah.
makes me think of when I was originally getting some feedback as a supervisor in training for the coaches, and I think I shared this with you many episodes ago, just hearing some feedback that felt like a bit attacking of my personhood, and then just getting perspective from a peer on like, no, this is what I'm hearing, and like I was wobbly enough that I wanted perspective. And the best thing she said, she's like, I didn't experience you that way, but I also don't have a trigger there.
Wow.
Right.
That is wow. Right? Oh my God. Yes.
I just wrapped it up with like, I
Yes.
don't experience you that way, but I personally don't have a trigger there, which just gave me insight to like any feedback coming in. Of course, if four people tell you you're an ass, you might want to check yourself.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? But
Yeah.
if one person says it and you take it to heart, and I tend to take things very deeply to heart without checking like, is that me?
Yeah.
Is that them? Could that have been a misunderstanding? So just that one sentence she said has stayed with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I am so resonating with that. And thank you for saying that because I just I just gave a friend of mine some really hard feedback, but it really, I realized that she had shared something quite personal with me, and I was triggered. And so I I didn't feed it back to her for her, pardon me. And with my vodka, I'm having some seltzer, so I'm really burping. Yes, cheers to
I love you because I was
cacao.
like, bourbon or
Cheers.
cacao? I don't know.
Oh my God, double fisting, woohoo! That's
Like
hilarious.
uppers, downers. No.
That's so funny. I love that. Um, so anyway, and I wasn't looking for an apology. I wasn't, but I shared my trigger just so that I wanted her to be aware, just
Right.
simply for the awareness, right? And she said to me, she said, I'm really sorry for triggering me. And I said, I'm not sorry that you triggered me. I'm what actually it was a gift because what I'm aware of is because in that trigger, that is because because of what you said, what you shared with me, and I was triggered. I'm realizing that I have some more healing to do around that
Hmm.
because that's what a trigger is. Like if we're triggered by someone else's words or behavior or whatever, and we take it personally, there's something in us that needs to heal or needs more work. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's that mothership, you know? And I'm like, okay, I thought I was good with that, but clearly I'm not. So yeah, I was just really grateful
Hmm.
to have a safe place, have a safe space to put it, you know, and to
I'm
be heard.
Yeah, I'm feeling touched that multiple things that you did feel the trust and the safety enough to share it, that your friend, it sounds like, was able to receive it, and wherever her interpretation went with it, you were able to say, no, hold on, like, this is actually a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Like that all just feels super integrous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that it's like, oh, there's more for me to grow here. Right.
Always.
Yeah.
Always, I think like I don't know how you are, like I don't know your sort of way of thinking. I kind of get a little bit of it, but I know for myself, I do a big piece of work around a relationship or whatever, or whatever it is, healing or whatever. And I'm like, and I tell myself, I'm like, oh, I'm done with that. Like, Heidi, look in the mirror because you're so not done. We're never done. Like, we're never done with our work. But I'm like, yes, I'm not done and I'm going to take a breather from it for right now. But
Hmm.
the reality is like, we are never done with our life's work, right? And and I have to say, like, I love that I'm never done with it, because the more I dig in and do reflecting and processing and being witnessed and being more vulnerable, I'm like, I learn more about myself, and I'm like, oh my God, I am this person. I am like, it's just layers and layers and layers. It's really kind of beautiful, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's like
Yeah.
we become these forever students, right? And
Yes.
I think there was a very youthful notion of mine when I was younger, like, oh, when I'm 30, I'll have arrived, I'll have gotten it. Like, I'll have arrived. I don't know what that even means. Like, ducks in a row, levitating under the Bodhi tree, arrived.
Hmm.
And, the older I get, I'm like, gosh, that would have been really boring if I'd gotten it all
Right.
10 years ago. Like,
Right.
what would I be doing now? Like, what would I be doing with myself? And
Yeah.
the place where I used to feel really like dismal was when I thought I was circling back to the thing. It's like, oh, not this again.
Yeah.
Oh, not this again. I thought I had taken care of it, right? Like, and when I finally got that, it was a bit of a upward spiral. And it's like, yes, you're revisiting it, but from another level,
Yeah.
from a place
Yeah.
of deepening,
Yeah.
from a place of seeing it with another, I don't know, bag of riches to be had. Like, yeah, how multi-layered we are in
Oh
that
my
regard.
goodness. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But I want to hold that piece of like, I, I'm going to call it self empathy. Like when we think we just are hitting the same thing, it's like, let's really be kind to ourselves that there's more to integrate. There's more to study, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, and I really like the piece where you said, in so many words, you said to really be gentle, like really gentle with ourselves, because we really are our own, most of us are our own worst enemies, because we're so hard on ourselves, and we want it to be like, we want to get it, we want to get it, we want to get it. And it's not about getting it, it's about the process of getting, like, we're going to get
Mhm.
there when we're 6 feet under. Like, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, when I'm dead, that's the end of my, like, that's the end of my life physically.
Yeah.
Right. But then, I will move on from this physical life and be somewhere else, wherever that is. Um, but in the meantime, oh my God, like, I get, when I think about the learning that I've done up to now and how much more I have to go, I'm like, that's so awesome. It's just so, it's rich,
Yeah.
and I feel really full and excited about it. Something I would say most days, most days I feel excited about it. There are days when I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going back to bed. Right?
Yeah. Can I just not grow today? Is that
Yeah.
possible?
I don't want
Yeah.
to learn this today. Can we put it off for 24 hours? Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the place I hold too is like when I feel disempowered, right? When I'm in like the smaller self, it's
Yeah.
really hard to, for me anyway, to separate behavior from personhood. It's like
Yeah.
it's a constant work that like, okay, it's not you that's bad, it's not you that's shitty. It's like, but this behavior could use some up leveling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And on my empowered days, it's like, okay, cool. Like I can do that. So it also just depends, like you said, is it a day when I'm threadbare and maybe this isn't the day for problem solving?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're not necessarily going to achieve a solution from like a raw, ragged place sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So
And
just
I don't know that
knowing when.
right. Right. And honestly, I don't even know if it's possible to grow when you are really threadbare. I mean, to really feel it, be able to have the energy to feel into it, the wherewithal to feel into it, to be like, yeah, I'm all over this. Hell no, I'm not. Like, I'm really not. So, those are like, I look at those times where I'm like, okay, today is about me and it's about self care. This too shall pass. and
Mm.
I will probably feel a little bit better tomorrow. And if I don't, I will probably feel better the next day or the next day, but this is not going to last forever. So my growth can sit on the back burner for a moment.
Yeah.
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 That was a huge game changer for me because I used to have the bad days, and the bad days is when I could see all the problems.
Mm,
And some magical thinking in me, thought I could solve the problems when I saw the problems. And what it took many, many moons to realize was like, note the problems. You have no business trying to solve them today. And in a week, you can rock these.
yeah.
But it was almost mean's not the right word, but it was like really being hard on myself to think I can see all the problems in my life and today I could solve them. It wasn't the same energy. It's like, when I songwrite and when I edit, they're not they're not done in the same energy.
Yeah. I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah. That
Yeah.
definitely makes sense.
Speaking of threadbare, because I know we've thrown that word around between these calls and a meeting
Yeah.
earlier this week. Just checking in on like, how are you? I heard like an I've had it when I entered the meeting. So
Um, so I'm just trying to think. Today's Wednesday, right? Today's
I
the
think
10th. I
so.
can't believe it's the 10th of February. My God. Um, hmm. So I feel like today's actually a better day. Let me say that. Let me start by saying today's a better day. And it's probably the best day that I've had in the last 3 days. Um, Monday was hard.
Mm.
Monday I was just struggling. Um, and I can't really name, what it was about. It doesn't matter what it was about. I was just really struggling, really feeling depressed. Like I've, struggled with depression in the past. And typically in my life, February is, I want to say, almost always a hard month, or at least part of February is a hard month. And I used to be able to, like, literally, I could feel a shift, like a downward shift on February 11th. For whatever reason, I was like, there was something about the 10th, 11th, 12th. And I'm like, those 3 days are just, they suck for me because they're just really hard. I feel like I don't even know. I'm just feeling a lot and don't have a lot of energy and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway, so Monday was hard. And so what I did was I had a Zoom with a friend, which was really good. And we were kind of in the same boat. She was also struggling too with a little bit of depression and February blues, as we call them. And and then yesterday I was feeling a little bit more energy yesterday. I didn't go back. Did I go back to bed yesterday? I might. Monday I went back to bed and I slept for about 2 hours. And I also realized that I needed a good cry.
Yeah.
So I popped in, I watched I have like three, they really are my favorite movies because they really can get me to move, the tears and the sadness. It is really, really, really helpful. And I actually love it. I love to cry in that way when I know that I've been holding a lot. So I did. I watched one of my favorite movies, and
What is it?
it's called I Am Sam.
I haven't seen it.
It was made, I think, back in 2006. So it's like 20, 15 years old, about. And it's with Sean Penn, who's one of my favorite actors. I think he's up there with Philip Seymour Hoffman and De Niro. And even if people don't like Kevin Spacey, I think Kevin Spacey is an awesome actor. And Dakota Fanning, she was probably 5 when
Oh,
she filmed the movie. She was adorable. And anyway, so those are the main characters of the movie. And then Michelle Pfeiffer plays his lawyer. Um, but it's just a sweet movie. And then the soundtrack is all Beatles
Mm-hmm.
sung by different artists. And because in the movie, Sam, uh, Sean's character, Sam, is a huge Beatles fan. And so everything is related to the Beatles. The little girl's name, his daughter, who is played by Dakota, he names her Lucy, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I mean, it is just, it's really sweet. Very, very emotional, very sweet. So anyway, so that was really helpful.
Yeah.
And so that was Monday. Tuesday, I felt a little bit better. And then I saw you at the meeting yesterday afternoon. And then a friend of mine and I talked after the meeting, and she was just like, so how are you today, kind of thing, because we really hadn't checked in. And she's like, so how are you? And I'm like, I'm actually feeling a little bit better. And today's even a little bit better. So, it's thank you. So I feel like I'm just kind of going on and on and on, but thank you for asking, because I hope that whoever watches this really gets that depression exists, mental health, mental issues, they are real and they exist. And depression is something that can literally stay with us for long periods of time or short periods of time, like come in and out, in and out, in and out. And fortunately for me this time, and I'm not saying that tomorrow I won't experience depression or the next day or the next day, but right now I'm feeling okay. Monday was a hard day for me. Um, and I think everyone's experience with depression is different. It just is. And I have a real tender and soft place in my heart for anyone who struggles with depression or any sort of mental, issue. Um, yeah, and so and I want to. I feel like right now, so many people, like it just feels like there are a lot of things that have kind of come to the surface because of COVID, which has nothing to do with the, what are we calling it, a virus, right? It has nothing to do with the virus, has nothing to do with the vaccine, or it's just because we've been isolated for such a long period of time now, which we're coming up on a year. Can't believe it. I can't believe it. But we're coming up on a year, and most of us have had like already an emotional journey with it, right? And um some of us are faring much better than others. Some people are really, really struggling hard. Some people, I mean, and I think even this, I know for a fact that the suicide rate has escalated. And I think the suicide rate is higher than the number of people who have died from COVID. I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah, it's doubled. It's doubled. I mean, February and January are high rates, and it's unprecedented. Like
Wow.
the on the end of coaches and therapists, like the mental health crisis that's not just going to happen, but that is
Right.
currently happening is, in my opinion, just not having social connections. I mean, it's a piece, right? And of course, there's economics. There's so many, like you're a single parent with three kids in the house, like all of it. None of us were prepared for this level of stepping up.
Right.
And as we said earlier, if you're already threadbare, stepping up doesn't feel like it's accessible, right? And I share with you the, like, for me, I'm like happy as can be November, December, even January. It's like, there's no holidays, like I can chill. And for me, February and March are tough.
Yeah.
And I always have resources, but this year the question was like, are these resources going to need to be times two, times 10, times 100? Like, what level of steroids will my normal resources require? Because there's no accounting for this year, right? Like, you know yourself, you know what you need, but you know what you need in this year. That's even for someone like me who's who's keeping track of myself these months, I don't have any data yet to know. What I do know is when I haven't felt resourced enough. And for me, community has been, yeah, the backbone of my stability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my own experience of it. But to me, having so many social connections, so many activities taken away, it can have a cool effect of like go in and do your retreat work. And it can also be incredibly overwhelming if you're isolated. Like, we're not meant to be isolated. I kind of had beef with the socially distancing term. It's like be physically distancing, but let people be social because we're social creatures. We're mammals, we're so social. But yeah, right now, I think it's really important to just, yeah, I say to people, like, even if you've checked on your friend last week and they were good, check on them again this week because days change, feelings change. Like you said, Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday, it's a perfect example. Things change, and we can lift each other up. If I'm steady and strong one day and you're feeling not so steady and strong, like the, I think Mickey said it, like leaning on each other's resiliency
Uh-huh. Yeah.
is a way. It's not the only way, but it's certainly a way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel that ache in my heart because I know there's been years where I had depression, like full on day in, day out. And times when it comes on and I kind of know it will pass. Um, but if someone is solidly in that time, where it's day after day and they're not seeing a light, then I hope they reach out to somebody.
Yeah. And to not feel that there is anything wrong with them. Like,
Mhm.
it's actually kind of normal for this time of year for many, many people. Um, and I know that just in general, there's a stigma attached.
Mhm.
Fuck the stigma. Like, seriously, fuck the stigma.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to your mental health, that's the most important thing. And I had a struggle with um going on an antidepressant because I was just like,
Mm.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think I can do it without an antidepressant. And my therapist at the time, I was in a group therapy, really awesome group therapy with this amazing core energetics therapist. And she was just like, so what are you afraid of if you go on an what are you afraid of if you go on an antidepressant? I didn't have an answer except that I would feel better. That's really true. I was like, oh my God. So if I didn't feel like this and I felt better, what does that mean? Like, there's some real truth to that? And I'm like, damn, I really need to look at that. Like, if I'm
Mhm.
afraid to feel better, wow, you know?
Right. Yeah. I'm following you there at the idea that like there was really no fallout in trying.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for naming that because I think people can conflate their chemistry with their character, and it's absolutely untrue, right? It's like it's your chemistry doing something. It has nothing to do with your personhood and your character. And that's an important distinction. Also, when we don't share, I found this in my experience, like shame can be very isolating
Oh,
and it seems to get bigger because it's like I'm the one holding it and no one else knows and everyone else has got it together. And here I am, like, damaged, right? And so when we do share, the gift we give ourselves is someone else might say, me too, and you're not alone. Or someone else might simply say, I see you, and you're not alone. And then the reparative energy of you sharing the thing that feels the most vulnerable to you and someone loving on you anyway. Like how healing that can be.
Yeah.
Because as you said, we can be the hardest, we can be hard on ourselves. And someone else could be like, yeah, I get it. It's February 10th. If I could, I'd get into that little groundhog hole too. I mean, really, what are we living for right now? No, I'm kidding. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It can feel that way.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
I also
So
will say I appreciate the wisdom that sometimes depression for me can bring. Like if something really is out of alignment in my life, like having to feel it and then from that place cultivate change can work. But that's a different thing. That's like when something's out of alignment and it feels uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. Just naming that can be there too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And unless we experience the depression at such a level, we wouldn't come away with the wisdom sometimes, right? Like
Yeah.
that depth of wisdom for sure. So there is, I mean, there is an upside. Believe it or not, there is an upside to depression. I mean, if we want to look at it in that way, we can,
Hmm.
um, and really grow and learn from it. And I know that's not for everyone. I don't want to speak for everyone
Right.
because I know that's not true for everyone, but I will say in my experience, there's a lot that I have learned and grown from. And like you said,
Yeah.
the wisdom, oh my God, it's been incredible at times. Yeah.
Yeah. And just holding, right? Like there is the chemistry and the piece that does require support in that way. And then I just speak to like the times when I've been the most depressed. Like I've been in a job that was just depleting, or I've been around just something that was like not in alignment with me and it took its toll. It took its toll in a long-term sort of chronic way. Um, and sometimes I didn't even know like there was another, right? Like another way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Mm.
remembering this is bringing up something for me, which I feel is really important. So, God, when was I in a relationship with him? Doesn't even matter. But just let me just say, a long time ago. At least it's been about a decade. Um, I was new in the relationship and new in the whole situation. I had moved in and there was a lot that I was handling, a lot to deal with. And I went to visit my mom. I went like took a weekend and went to see my mom. And hang on one second because there's a siren. Hang on. I'm going to mute for a moment. I think it's going the other direction. Okay. And my mom, she said to me, "Is everything okay?"
Mm.
And my mom is one of those people who really she doesn't go near feelings. She really doesn't because she's kind of afraid of them. But when she knows, because she really does have a lot, she's very sensitive, even though she would never admit it. She hasn't, like everyone, she does have an intuition. And so I could tell she was feeling something. And I was just like, "What do you mean?"
Mm.
And she's like, "You seem depressed."
Mm.
And it wasn't until she said those words that I took a moment to check in with myself. And I was like, "She's right. I hate this frickin' situation that I'm in. It's hard. It's day after day. I don't feel appreciated. I'm not appreciated. I feel like it's three on one, because it is three on one. And it was exhausting. And I'm not feeling very satisfied in the relationship itself. So And interestingly enough, in the first 18 months of that relationship, I got shingles.
Yeah.
And the functional medicine doctor that I saw, she said to me, she's like, "So what are you stressed about?" And I looked at her, I said, "How long do you have?"
Oh, Jesus.
And
Yeah.
she's like, "Give it to me." And so I just kind of laid it all out.
Wow,
And
what a
she's like,
great
"Well,
ally.
what?"
I said, what a great ally.
She really was. She was just like, tell me. So I laid it all out, and she was like, "Wow, something needs to shift here. Something really needs to shift because this is like the topping, right? Like there's a lot of stuff underneath this.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to tell you what to do. Your shingles will heal. I'm not going to give you a vaccination," because she was a functional medicine doctor. I didn't want a vaccine because I didn't want more shit put in my body. And I'm like, okay. Um, and I don't need to go down the road, but what I'm saying about stress
Yeah.
and mental health is that when a person is in that situation, if one does not take action, things will get worse and just
Yeah.
escalate and escalate and escalate. And that's what happened to me. Like my shingles turned into something. I mean, it was, I don't have time. I'm not going to go into it right now. It was a lot.
Mm.
It was a lot. Um, and yeah. And so I'm just like, wow, I'm so glad that I'm not in that relationship anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
Um, and I really, I have a couple of friends right now who are in not very healthy situations, and actually sacrificing a lot and not satisfied. And I'm
mm,
like, and I'm looking at and I'm remembering my situation, and all I could think of is, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore, right? And I also had to have my experience. I had to walk my walk. I had to live my experience in order to learn
mhm.
what was good and right for me. Just like my friends, my two friends who are experiencing their own situations right now also have to have their experience. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not, I've said I've said a few things, and I'm like, there's no more to say. These people need to figure it, that they will figure it out, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's the place I hear, like, life is inherently trustworthy. The journey will be the journey for them.
Yep.
And the piece I want to hold, thank you for sharing too, that feels important for anyone watching that, let's say, is not depressed, but like your mom notices, to name it as a true ally to someone who might not even realize, like, depressed can feel like flat, it can feel numb, it can feel disconnected, it could feel not depressed, but like some other, if we're going into emotional granularity, it could be, oh, I just, I'm you know,
Right.
versus I'm really depressed. So it can look a lot of different ways. And I think, especially in these months, like if you are around someone who you're concerned about, to name it, as vulnerable, as uncomfortable as that might be, to, with real care and affection, check in on them.
Yeah.
Because like what you said, you didn't think about it till your mom said it, and then you checked in, and then the wheels got into motion.
Mhm.
So that could be a wake up call for someone else.
Yeah.
um, yeah, if we're aware.
Yeah.
And I love that you had an ally, because I had a similar experience with my OBGYN where, I was having a great deal of cramps, a great deal of fatigue. Um, just overall like no vitality, right? And we're looking at medical history, we're looking at all these things in her office, and she's like, "Oh, tell me about like what's your week look like?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I work at this nonprofit in the Bronx. It's like 2 hours, travel each way on public transportation. Everything's on fire because it's social justice. So I'm there 9 a.m. and sometimes I don't leave till 11 p.m., right? Like miss the last bus, grab an Uber kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm the only financial human there. So where they should really have three accountants, they have one, right? Like just the way nonprofits roll, overstretched,
Yeah.
overworked. And, she was like, well, and I said something to the effect of like, last week I bought groceries at Whole Foods. I came home on the bus. I fell into bed with my boots on and woke up the next day being like, oh, the kale is wilted. Like that was my life. And without missing a beat, she was like, sounds to me like you need to find another job. Like she wasn't going to give me any meds. She wasn't interested in, the routes that are like, oh, this will help your cramps. She just looked at me point blank and was like, that sucks. Sounds like that might be something you want to look into. And it was the first time I felt given permission to even consider that my job was affecting my health. Hadn't occurred to me.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like that everything is connected to everything.
Mhm.
That my not getting to have dinner, that my not getting home in time to sleep, that my not being, like good in my life. It's like here I was kicking ass in my job and priding myself in that. But when I'd call my parents, I was either too exhausted to talk much or I was crying because I was too exhausted. With my partner who now gets it, hopefully a different person. Like I was cranky and poor in relationship. Like I was just running on fumes all the time. My friendships, suffered.
Yeah.
It's like who wouldn't get depressed if everything in your life is suffering for this one thing that, like you said, if you're not even appreciated there, what's the point?
Right.
But I share that because it took someone else giving me permission, which I'm going to say I'm not proud of because now I think I would give myself permission. But at that time, I needed to hear from someone else that like my reality
Yeah.
was really an issue,
Yeah.
parts of my reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it fascinating when we don't see those things in ourselves? And we're like, how did I miss that boat? Right? And it does take, the support and love and witnessing of someone else to say, hey, you can do it differently if you want.
Hmm.
Like the
Hmm.
permission, like you said, the permission is huge. It's
Yeah.
really important. And sometimes we don't see it ourselves, so we can't give it to ourselves. But if someone else can say, hey, this is an option,
Hmm.
you can do it differently. Oh my gosh.
Just opening the window for us, right? Like
Yes.
there's so much I don't want to say I don't know, there's so much responsibility put on the shoulders of the person who is depressed to make that 1-800 call, to reach out to a friend. I know we've said it here
Yeah.
earlier, to be the proactive one, which almost feels like an oxymoron if you're super
Right. It
depressed.
doesn't even make sense to me. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other side, which I think we're tapping into, is if you are the friend or the caregiver or the doctor or the teacher or whoever in a space and capacity to say, hey, can I share some feedback with you? I'm sensing something's up, or like what's up or whatever.
Yeah.
What a door you might be opening for someone. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Oh.
Mm. Mm. So I know we're leaning into a weekend that's supposed to be about love and, I know, I get that from a lot of people.
It's such a Hallmark holiday. I can't even stand it. Go ahead. I sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No. Well, I'm open for like everyday daily behavior
Yeah.
reflecting
Yeah.
love. So I agree. And I think I get like extra sprightly on Valentine's because I'm like, I love love every day. I'm not trying to not be about it until that day. But then on that day, I'm kind of on steroids. So that's okay. I don't expect everyone. I had a similar reaction from a friend earlier today who was like, I just have middle fingers for that day. And I was like, I get it. But I wanted to just veer into this again between the mental health pandemic where we're at, us all being able to use not just Sunday, right, but every day to like really pour love into each other. I think that's more my point. Like, okay, there are going to be people wanting to get the flowers and wanting to have the romantic date and whatever. And I've been that person when I felt more insecure that like I needed it all to be shown to me that day. I don't feel that way, but I do want to honor like there is a way we can, it's like the Christmas spirit. If there could be like the Valentine spirit. I know you're not buying.
I'm listening.
Checking on people. Like I almost want to send Valentine's cards. Like who's lonely? Who can I like send some love to? And obviously not wanting it to be curated either. So that part I'm with you. Yeah. And then the practical love side of like, what do we do in our day to day to show love?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And how do we receive love? Because I think that's a whole different convo. So,
Yeah. Have you answered those questions yourself?
how do I give and how do I receive?
Yeah.
Well, I think the receiving is easier, honestly. Like I know I love hugs, which is a place I feel the deficit. Richard can only make up for all like so many hugs, you know, that I would like to receive. Um, I'm very much about like the physical touch part of love languages and quality time. Like this is love to me. Having quality time where we're both presenced, undistracted, and here is love to me. The giving love part's harder because sometimes I think I'm tending to people and it doesn't feel like tending to them.
From your end, it doesn't feel like you're tending?
Well, no, like I think I'm doing a thing that I would like. I'm being self referential. And for that person, that's not love to them.
Mm.
So that's always a moving target to me. Like actually asking people what makes them feel loved instead of assuming that they're going to want what makes me feel loved. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's sort of like when we were talking about conversations, and it's like, I don't mind being interrupted because I feel like someone's following along and they're asking questions. And you were like, oh no, interruptions make me feel not listened to.
Yeah.
But the same is true in like the love field. Yeah. What about you? I know that's like a little pivot, but what has you feeling loved? How do you receive love?
Um, so I want to say this before 7 o'clock. I want to be off in 5 minutes because
Okay.
my nephew has a game at 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the spirit of love languages, are you familiar with love languages? Kind of like, I don't even know exactly what they all are, but I would say that when someone show or either shows appreciation or shares their appreciation for me for something I've done for them or whatever, that means the world to me.
Hmm.
Um, and then to receive love, I would say that, when I when I genuinely can feel and hear and see that I'm being witnessed,
Mm.
that's that's it. I mean, it's so easy. Like for me, it's so easy to like that's it. Like when I know that I'm being heard and seen for who I am,
Mm.
like this, there's nothing to even there's nothing else to say. You know, this is it. It's really I like simplicity. I
Mm.
don't like the fanfare. I can't fanfare makes me want to vomit. I have never been a fanfare kind of person ever. I also don't like a lot of attention. I have never, ever, ever liked a lot of attention. I'm so uncomfortable with attention. Oh, God, it makes my skin crawl. I'm not about attention. Um, but I mean, one on one, I do a lot better,
Yeah.
and I'm getting a little bit better with it. But it's not my go to. But being witnessed and seen like this, I love it.
Yeah, I'm hearing what I'm getting from that is like presence, that you feel
100%.
loved by someone who's being presenced
Yeah,
with you. Yeah. And seen and heard is just like so yummy.
yeah.
I imagine a lot of people would feel loved if they were seen and heard.
I think so too, and I also think that there would be, and I want to forgive if I'm offending anyone because that's not my intention. But I, like you said, human connection. Part of human connection is being seen and being heard and being witnessed as humans in our human selves, right?
Yeah.
And to know that is to know love. Like to really know what love is to know that. And so I think if there was more of that,
Yeah.
there would maybe be a lot less depression or sadness or suicide. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but
Yeah.
I think it might be true.
I share that with you. I think the emotional deficiency, right? We talk so much about supplement. We don't, but like people talk about supplements and nutrients and all the stuff. And it's like, I think this country, frankly, has an emotional deficiency.
It does.
And yeah, the more that we can show people that they are seen and heard in our daily lives as best we can, like that feels really good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I support your middle fingers for Valentine's Day as well. I totally get it. You know,
Thank you. Oh my God.
I get the idea of something being forced upon and that not feeling good.
No, it feels fake to me. I'm just like, who made this up? Like, really? You know? Um, so I'm gonna take the last minute, if it's okay, to plug something for tomorrow, because
Of course.
talking about connection. So um my colleagues and I, my entrepreneurial colleagues and I, called Spirited Holistic Entrepreneurs, we are having a free Zoom conversation. We're calling it She Conversations tomorrow at 7. And I can put the link here. Um, and you can also connect with us on Facebook. We have the link all over, but you do want to sign up through Eventbrite, and then we'll send you the Zoom link for tomorrow night.
Nice. Yeah. Do you want to, you send me the link and we'll put it in here.
I'll put it in there.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
Yeah,
good
because
to
this is
see you.
kind of, I mean, this is, women or people who identify women as women, like it's about us coming together and supporting one another.
What a beautiful offering. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds really nourishing. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you for this too. Mm.